The smell of burnt coffee and lies hit Ava the moment she stepped into conference room B. There was no agenda on the calendar, just a sudden hey, quick sync from her skip-level manager who hadn't spoken directly to her in months. She knew it wasn't a promotion. Nobody gets surprise cake at 3:14 p.m. on a Tuesday. But she didn't expect this. Due to your recent performance in our cultural audit, the HR rep began, voice flatter than the LaCroix in Ava's hand. We've decided to part ways. Ava blinked. Cultural what? Alignment, the woman clarified, sliding a laminated pamphlet across the table like they were negotiating the terms of her euthanasia. This isn't about your KPIs. You're just not vibing with the energy here. Not vibing. After 9 years, she'd onboarded their first designer, wrote half the product's spec docs still in use, entered every intern since 2017, and led the mobile relaunch that basically saved Q3. But sure, let's talk vibes. Your Slack presence hasn't exactly been cheerful, HR continued. She stared. You mean I didn't put a pineapple emoji after saying we missed our sprint deadline again? Her manager, the one who used to call her the glue of the team, wouldn't meet her eyes. She noticed he had Slack open under his laptop lid, probably deeming the CEO live updates. Ava stood up slowly, spine like iron. So this isn't performance-related. Correct, HR said brightly. It's about culture. And whose culture is that, she asked. The one that starts tequila shots at 4 p.m. but ignores every harassment complaint. The room went silent. Then her manager coughed and said, wishing you all the best, Ava. The CEO didn't even show. Just dropped a waving hand emoji in Slack. Waving hand, she packed her desk with the cold precision of a surgeon. Laptop, framed photo of her dog, the post-it with her GitHub token gone. She didn't cry, not yet. But when she passed the ping-pong table, she had to fight the urge to snap the paddles in half. Now, if this is already making you angry, sip your Diet Coke. Maybe consider helping me reach my first 10,000 subscribers. I tell stories like this, all true, all twisted. Most of them end with poetic justice, served cold as leftover office pizza. By the time Ava got home, her inbox had already locked her out. No warning, no transition. She wasn't even allowed to post a goodbye message in the #general channel. The irony, she built that Slack workspace. Literally named the channels. She cracked open a beer, stared at her reflection in the microwave door, and whispered, low cultural alignment, Somewhere between the second sip and opening her laptop, the rage started to settle into something quieter, heavier. She refreshed the company website out of pure masochism. Same pastel graphics. Same stupid slogan, our culture is our strength. Then on a hunch, maybe divine spite, she checked the Whois record for their domain, just typed it in like a joke, and blinked. Expires in 3 days. She sat very still. Her heart didn't pound. It purred. That, Ava said out loud, leaning back in her chair, is some real culturally aligned karma. The first 48 hours were a blur of sweatpants and stale Doritos. Ava cycled between her couch and kitchen like a malfunctioning Roomba, looping through grief, rage, and reruns of forensic files. Her dog, a senior mutt named Dingo, stared at her like she was the unstable roommate in a true crime doc. She couldn't blame him. It felt like an unstable roommate in a true crime doc. The emails started rolling in almost immediately. Recruiters, saw your recent update. Are you open to opportunities? LinkedIn was practically panting on her phone. You're trending in your network, it chirped. Probably because the company quietly removed her from the leadership page at 10:37 p.m. the same night they canned her. The rage came in waves, sharp, acidic, then fizzled into nothing. He'd open a draft to a recruiter and just stop. What would she say? Yes, I'm interested in doing the emotional labor of rebuilding a team while dodging TikTok CEO temper tantrums. No, not yet, not now. By day 3, she deleted Slack, unsubscribed from Product Hunt newsletters, and rage sold all her company swag on eBay. One hoodie was already going for $42.50. Small victories. He didn't even know why she checked the site. Habit, maybe, muscle memory. The homepage still had that same nauseating slogan, our culture is our strength. Ava muttered under her breath, more like our culture is our lawsuit waiting to happen. Then she remembered something, faint, dusty in her mind like an old post-it stuck to the back of a drawer. During her second year at the company, she'd taken point on the site migration. Built out the Notion checklist, sat on calls with the hosting provider when their DNS melted. She even registered the new domain on her boss's credit card, but still. She knew where it was registered. More importantly, she knew how to look it up. She opened a new tab and typed it in. Whois, click, domain, company name. Com registrar, generic tech web corp status, expiring soon, expiration date 3 days from now. 3, not 30, not 6 months. 3 days. Stared at the screen, blinking so hard it clicked in her dry contacts. There it was. A billion-dollar valuation company running on the digital equivalent of a Walmart receipt. Was this a joke? She triple-checked. It wasn't set to auto-renew, not even locked. Some poor intern probably forgot to set it up right during their team-building offsite where they got drunk and wrote company values on Post-it notes. She laughed, a raw, wheezing bark that scared Dingo off the couch. Her ribs hurt from laughing. She knew what this meant, she knew. The domain was like the heart of the company. It hosted everything: the site, the client portal, email forwarding. If it dropped, if someone else grabbed it, she closed her eyes. Inhaled. Suddenly her sweatpants felt like armor. Her silence wasn't shame, it was setup. 3 days. 72 hours. A clock started ticking in the back of her skull, slow and cold. Ava didn't know exactly what she'd do yet. She knew one thing for sure. She wasn't going to let this expiration date pass without watching. Ava hadn't stared at a screen this long since the 2020 sprint planning marathon that ended with someone crying in a breakout room and a Jira board that looked like a Jackson Pollock painting. But this time was different. This wasn't chaos. This was control. She'd found a Whois monitoring tool that refreshed every 10 seconds. Final hours ticked by like she was watching a live feed of the Titanic steering toward an iceberg, except the iceberg had a Gmail login and a grudge. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from the unnatural amount of Red Bull she was pretending was part of the vibe. Dingo snored under her desk, occasionally kicking the air like he, too, was dreaming of revenge. She'd set up everything the night before. Her account with the registrar, her payment method, 2 backup cards just in case. She cleared her cookies, ran VPN tests, even tested a burner domain just to make sure the system wouldn't glitch. She had receipts on receipts, and when the clock hit 000001 on expiration day, boom, available, her breath caught in her throat. A scream nearly escaped, but she choked it back with one hand over her mouth. Her fingers moved like lightning. Click, confirm, verify email. Enter code. Enter, finalize, congratulations. The screen beamed. You are now the registered owner of company name. Calm, she stared, then blinked, then laughed like a maniac in the dark, glowing light of her living room surrounded by empty ramen bowls and the ghosts of suppressed rage. It was hers. She owned it, their homepage, their emails, their precious investor vanity URL, and the best part, they hadn't noticed. The site still loaded because it was cached on edge servers. Soon those caches would expire. And when they did, her phone buzzed. A Slack message from a former work friend. Dude, are you okay? What happened? Ava grinned. That was the question of the hour, wasn't it? She typed out a message and deleted it. Too obvious, typed another. Too passive. Then she settled on one line. Check your homepage. Sent. She could already picture it. The CTO, 2 oat milk lattes deep into his Friday, clicking refresh and watching his soul exit his body when he sees the GoDaddy transfer confirmation sitting in his inbox. He was always the one preaching digital hygiene like a televangelist. And yet here they were. Naked, dumb, vulnerable. She didn't post on social yet. No gloating, no revenge thread, no dramatic tech-style monologue about corporate betrayal. Not yet. She wasn't doing this for clout. She was doing this for her. Every time she was told to lean into ambiguity. For every happy hour she skipped to meet a deadline. For every Slack thread where she raised a red flag and got ignored like she was the ghost of product management past. The disbelief started to fade. What replaced it was cooler, sharper, empowerment. She had the keys now. The front door, the garage, the panic room. She could reroute everything or she could burn it down. But first, she had to savor this. Opened her IDE, began building a replica of the company's homepage from scratch. Same layout, same fonts. Same bullshit quote from the CEO about building with heart, except this time she had editing privileges. Let's talk about that heart, she thought, and started typing. Ava didn't just mirror their homepage, she made it sing. Every pixel was a weapon, every tagline a landmine. She knew the site's structure like the back of her badge lanyard-scarred neck. After all, she built the damn thing during a 6-month rollout the CEO later called a team effort, while holding a margarita at the offsite she hadn't been invited to. This wasn't a prank. It was performance art with a body count. The replica looked identical on first glance. Same warm pastels, same motivational buzzwords vomited across the header. Our culture is our strength. Only now, hovering over that phrase triggered a pop-up, one she coded herself, containing a Slack screenshot dated July 11, 2023. CTO, do we really need to hire another woman PM? Last one cried when I joked about her calendar color. She almost felt bad. Almost. Next to the Meet Our Team section, she replaced the filtered headshots with deep-fried JPEGs captioned with internal nicknames. Token hire, Kool-Aid evangelist, and fails upward. The bios were intact, except annotated, footnote style, with hyperlinks to receipts. Real ones, JPEGs, PDFs. A few audio clips from Culture Syncs that somehow ended with the CEO explaining why empathy was just a marketing tactic. The request, a demo button, now led to a feedback form. Rate your cultural alignment. 1 equals total disgrace. 5 equals tequila with the boss required field. Below that, a drop-down. Would you recommend this company to a friend? Yes, if I hated them maybe. If they enjoy lawsuits, no. I value human dignity. The analytics dashboard she rigged lit up like Vegas. Hundreds of unique hits in the first few hours, mostly from internal IPs, some from their biggest client's domain. She imagined the CMO refreshing the site before a scheduled investor pitch, only to be greeted with her new About Us tagline, "We believe in transparency." Here's what our leadership actually says when no one's looking. Scroll down. There it was, a collage of Slack snippets, memos with urgent stamped in red, and even a buried Jira ticket titled Product Roadmap Revamp, Let's Fake the Demo for Now, that had been accidentally left public for weeks. Ava had screen-capped it the day it happened. She didn't know why, she just had. The site wasn't malicious, it was honest. It was the company, reflected back at itself with perfect clarity, like a haunted mirror from an HR nightmare. No malware, no ransom demands, just facts. The kind they prayed would stay buried. She didn't touch the emails yet, didn't interfere with DNS routing or back-end servers. That was too far for now. This was about message, not meltdown, yet her favorite part, the favicon, the tiny logo in the browser tab, had been replaced with a cartoon dumpster fire. Subtle, dignified, truthful. By midnight, a former colleague texted her. Ava, holy SHT, did you do this? She replied with a gif of opera sipping tea. Her phone buzzed again, this time a number she didn't recognize. She let it go to voicemail. There were already 3 LinkedIn messages from ex-employees saying thank you and 1 from a journalist asking if she had time for a quick quote. She didn't answer that either. She just sat back, lit a candle that smelled like rage and sandalwood, and watched the traffic climb. Justice, it turns out, comes with a bounce rate. By sunrise, homepage had become an office legend, except no one in the office was laughing. From her living room, Ava sipped lukewarm coffee and watched the carnage unfold like it was the Super Bowl for corporate failure. She had TweetDeck open on one screen, server logs on the other, and a candle burning that said Namaste, bitch, just for ambience. The first call came in around 8:12 a.m. Not to her, obviously. She wasn't on the payroll anymore. It was to the company's support line, from a very confused enterprise client wondering why their portal now displayed a Slack transcript featuring a senior engineer calling their compliance vendor bootlickers with a badge. By 9 o'clock, it was a full-blown 5-alarm internal fire. She had eyes everywhere, former coworkers, silent allies still inside. Messages trickled in like smoke signals. CEO just screamed who the FK owns the internet. In the break room, CTO locked himself in a conference room with the DNS guy. Looked pale. They're blaming interns for not renewing the domain. Lol. Ava felt no remorse. None. She remembered when they had that same intern cry in the stairwell after botching a QA test. Don't worry, the CEO had joked back then. Mistakes are how we weed out the weak. Now he was weak, and the mistake had cost them their digital heartbeat. The CTO tried everything. Who is transfer appeals? NS overrides? Hell, even emailing her from a burner Gmail titled Domain Resolution 2024 at gmail.com with a message that read, "We'd love to find a peaceful solution to this." Ava didn't respond. Instead, she updated the homepage again. This time, the hero banner autoplayed a new video, a screen recording of the company's own website being clicked through, every button revealing another buried truth. Over that, elevator music. Light, breezy, deranged. Then came the Zoom call, an all-hands emergency meeting slapped onto everyone's calendar as urgent culture alignment strategy. Ava didn't attend, obviously, but one of her former QA analysts did, and she recorded the whole thing. The CEO opened the meeting with a deep sigh and a facial expression that screamed, "I haven't slept, and someone better bring me a Xanax smoothie. We are navigating a brief domain incident," he began, as if he'd sneezed and accidentally lost control of the company's entire online infrastructure. One engineer, bless him, unmuted mid-meeting and asked, "Didn't Ava used to manage our DNS stack?" Dead silence. Someone else chimed in. "And didn't she warn us like twice last year that our registrar login was insecure?" More silence. The CTO glared into the camera. "Let's focus on solutions, not blame." Then a marketing exec, someone Ava had once watched chug a White Claw during a diversity workshop, spoke up. "Are we sure we can't just sue her?" That was the moment Ava chose to upload the full recording to the homepage, under a new tab titled Alignment in Action, a live case study. She clipped the good stuff, CEO stammering, CTO blaming interns. The phrase "we thought it was on" auto-renew repeated 6 times, like a Gregorian chant of incompetence. Visitors could now watch it all, buffer-free. Ava made sure it auto-played on mobile. She even included a new site footer that read, "This message has not been approved by our board, but it has been seen by them." And the best part, the logs were spiking. Journalists were digging. Clients were asking questions. Ava wasn't reacting anymore. She wasn't the scorned ex-employee. She was the editorial board of the truth. She wasn't playing defense, hell. She wasn't even on the field. She was the stadium, and it was only halftime. By Tuesday morning, the press had caught the scent of blood, and they came sniffing in packs. TechCrunch dropped the first headline, "Startup Darling Faces Meltdown After Domain Blunder Exposes Internal Culture." Then Wired picked it up. Then Forbes. Then some weird podcast that always ends up in your feed, even if you didn't follow it. Everyone wanted a piece of the collapse. Everyone had theories. Rogue hacker, disgruntled IT admin, maybe even North Korea. But insiders knew the truth. The best ones always do. And then came the tremor that shook the building's already cracked foundation. Vanguard Grayson Capital, one of their top series investors, released a short, brutal statement. "We are reevaluating our partnership in light of recent revelations surrounding company NameS internal conduct and digital operations. Take ethical alignment seriously." The CEO probably dropped his oat milk on the Herman Miller chair when he read that one. That firm didn't do public statements unless someone committed wire fraud or used Comic Sans in a pitch deck. Internally, the fallout was nuclear. A former back-end engineer, someone Ava barely remembered except for their aggressive collection of keyboard shortcuts, filed an official harassment complaint. But this time, they didn't go through HR. They filed a lawsuit, and they cited Ava's public homepage as part of their evidence packet. Ava read the filing while eating spaghetti in a hoodie that said, "Not today, Satan." She felt a familiar sting in her eyes, not sadness, not regret, just the boiling point of vindication finally condensing into something she could hold. Someone else was saying it, finally, out loud, in legalese. Her email pinged. Subject, cease and desist urgent from legal@companyname.com time. 9:42 a.m., she laughed before even opening it. The tone was as hollow as the canned statements she used to write for product outages. Legalese wrapped in desperation. "You are hereby instructed to immediately cease use of the domain company name. Com, as it is a protected trademark, and you are causing material harm to our brand reputation and client relationships, blah, blah, blah." She didn't reply. She just forwarded it to her lawyer, Lena, her college roommate who now specialized in exactly this kind of tech world absurdity. Along with the email, Ava added, "Elmau, should I print it on a mug?" Hot smiling Lena replied 10 minutes later, "They're bluffing. You didn't steal their trademark. You bought a domain. They forgot to renew. We're good. P.S. Send me a mug." Still, Ava knew better than to gloat too early. This wasn't over. Not yet. They were cornered animals now, embarrassed, humiliated, bleeding cash by the hour. That was when people got stupid, or worse, dangerous. The homepage was still live, still getting traffic. She had to be careful. She added a firewall, disabled form submissions, put rate limits on IPs from their office HQ, just in case they tried something dumb like a bot spam DDoS attack, or an intern with a grudge and postman access. She wasn't mad anymore. She was sharp, focused. They tried to take her dignity and wrap it in buzzwords, tried to bury her legacy under phrases like "not a culture fit." But now, she was the narrator. And the more they fumbled, the louder her version got. A new tab appeared on the homepage that night, "How to Prevent a Cultural Alignment Crisis." Step 1. Fire the person who built your infrastructure. It was simple, it was petty, it was perfect, and Ava knew deep in her bones that the crescendo was coming. All she had to do now was wait. She timed it like a final drumbeat before the curtain dropped. The moment the cease and desist arrived, Ava knew exactly what came next. Not a retreat, not a public apology, not even a ransom note. No, this was an opportunity to snap the last piece into place. While the company flailed on damage control calls and PR triage, she filed 3 simple forms online. New Delaware LLC registered. Name, company name digital. Different enough to be legal, close enough to haunt them. She secured the net end. Org versions 2 for flavor. Then she registered matching social handles on LinkedIn, X, formerly known as Twitter, but forever known as a dumpster, Instagram, even TikTok, just in case someone decided to make a meme of the implosion. If they searched the old brand name, she was what they found now. Ava didn't even need to fake professionalism. Her track record was real. 9 years of tangible product leadership, client-facing wins, and internal fire drills she'd quietly solved, while the CEO did tequila tastings with VCs. She was the company's soul. They just didn't know it until she left with it. Next, she wrote the blog post. It wasn't angry. It wasn't even emotional. It read like a Medium article from a founder reflecting on a transformative experience. Culturally aligned, a memoir in domains, disconnects, and digital dignity, she opened with a quote from their own HR manual. Culture isn't just ping-pong tables. It's the values we live every day. Then she listed the values she saw. Gaslighting instead of feedback. Misconduct instead of mentorship. Branding over boundaries. Finally, if culture is the soul of a company, mine was exercised quietly at 3:14 p.m. on a Tuesday without warning. So I kept the receipts, and the domain, and the brand's dignity because someone had to. She hit publish. The blog spread like wildfire. Her old intern shared it with the caption, "I cried reading this. I'm not kidding." A senior product lead at a Fortune 100 reshared it. Every woman in tech has a version of this story. Not everyone tells it this well. It trended on LinkedIn. Within 24 hours, her inbox was full of job offers. One from a competitor she used to dream about working for. Another from an investor asking if she was interested in building something better. But the cherry on top, an anonymous tip from someone inside the marketing team. The company had pulled together an emergency branding task force. Because now, when clients Googled them, Ava's blog came up before their own website. They're considering a full rebrand, the message read, or trying to buy back the domain. She snorted into her tea. Let them try. Her price wouldn't be money, it would be confession. But they wouldn't go that route. Narcissists rarely do. She registered one more redirect on the domain just to keep the pressure cooking. This one pointed to a split page. Option A, redirect to your new rebrand. Option B, stay here and own the truth. At the bottom, the choice is yours again. Ava didn't need revenge. She had reach, and reach meant power. Now, for the first time since that humiliating walkout, she felt the shift. They were no longer reacting to her. They were orbiting her, and she was almost done. They booked a ballroom in San Francisco for the Series B press event. Velvet rope, branded cocktail napkins, playlist that tried very hard not to sound like Spotify's Startup Vibes playlist, but absolutely was. The CEO wore his favorite hoodie under blazer combo and looked like he hadn't slept since the homepage mutiny began. The CTO hovered near the AV team like he could physically intercept the Wi-Fi with sheer willpower. This was supposed to be their comeback tour. Instead, it was Ava's finale. She didn't attend, of course. She wasn't that petty. She didn't need to sit in the front row for the fireworks. Not when she was the fireworks. She was 3,000 miles away, in her kitchen, barefoot, wearing a shirt that said still not a culture fit, with a glass of cheap champagne and a laptop running silent tabs of Google alerts, live tweets, and the event's YouTube livestream. At exactly 11:03 a.m., the CEO took the stage. "Before we begin," he said, throat already scratchy with fear, "I'd like to acknowledge some recent digital turbulence." That's when it happened. Behind him, the projector flickered. And then, boom, Ava's homepage, full screen, full brightness, full truth, not cached, not clipped, the real thing. Center screen pulsing in elegant sans serif font. This redirect expires when accountability begins. Beneath it, a countdown timer. 00:29:58. Tick, tick, tick. The crowd, investors, reporters, industry sharks, froze like a glitch in the matrix. Some whispered. Some pulled out their phones. A few walked out on the spot, shaking their heads. One investor, the one who always insisted on vegan hors d'oeuvres and was quoted in TechCrunch saying founders should bleed empathy, stood up, turned to the CEO, and said clearly, "Is this why your valuation dropped last quarter?" The mic picked it up. It echoed. The CEO panicked. "We're working with legal." This is a very sophisticated form of cyber, but Ava had already muted the redirect audio. She didn't need words, just the silence, just the clock, just the mirror. The CTO lunged toward the AV table. Someone tripped over a wire. The screen cut to black, then came roaring back with a new splash image. "Tell the truth or change your name. You no longer own either. Mike, drop." In her kitchen, Ava swirled her champagne. Not fancy stuff, Trader Joe's brand, $4 a bottle. It hit like nectar. Her dog, Dingo, barked at the UPS truck outside. The toast crumbs on her counter looked like confetti. Her inbox exploded. Reporters, whistleblowers, a class action lawyer offering lunch, and one message from a board member she hadn't spoken to since 2021, "This is savage. Also, would you ever consider consulting?" She took a screenshot, saved it in a folder called Karma, and shut her laptop. She wasn't angry anymore. She wasn't vindictive. She was whole. They tried to erase her with buzzwords. She rewrote the dictionary. And now, the world finally saw the footnotes. Big thanks, you legends of the old office days. Subscribe to keep the switch-flicking chaos alive. Your ex-boss is shaking in their loafers.